On August 6, 1944, the Soviet Union's Red Army reached the village of Blizna, northwest of Rzeszów in Poland, liberating it from Nazi occupation. A remote rural settlement surrounded by agricultural fields and dense pine forest, it might have seemed to be of little military significance. Yet deep craters on the woodland floor, metal debris, and fake farmhouses hinted at its secret purpose. Before the Nazis had retreated a few days before, Blizna had been the test launch site for a new weapon, one that Adolf Hitler hoped would turn the tide of the war against the Western Allies. Known by the Germans as the Vergeltungswaffe, vengeance weapon. 2. The V-2 rocket was the world's first modern ballistic weapon. Designed by the engineer Wernher von Braun, with a range of approximately 170 miles, 280 kilometers, and a warhead weighing 1 ton, the rocket's supersonic speed and high flight altitude made it a wonder weapon, capable of exploding without warning in the cities it targeted. But in the summer of 1944, parts of the V-2 were smuggled from Poland to Britain in one of World War II's most audacious covert missions. The Nazis began developing the V-2 in 1936. However, British intelligence hadn't been aware of the rocket's existence until early 1943, as experts told the BBC in the 1977 documentary, The Secret War. There'd been a little information before 1939 that the Germans might be developing long-range rockets, said Dr. R.V. Jones, the chief of scientific air intelligence. Then we heard nothing more until December 1942, when a new agent, who turned out to be a Danish chemical engineer, told us he'd overheard a conversation in Berlin between two engineers who said that there was a new weapon being developed and tried up on the Baltic coast. The turning point came in 1943, when two German generals who had been captured separately were brought to Britain for interrogation, and then allowed to talk alone together, not suspecting that the room was bugged. They debated why the rockets hadn't been used yet, saying that something must have gone wrong because they'd been told more than a year earlier that the weapons would be ready in only a few months. According to Jones, one of them said, "Well, we're somewhere near London, and we've heard no bang, so nothing could have happened." As Jones recalled in 1977, intelligence analyst Charles Frank was just sitting opposite me, and he suddenly looked up from reading the interrogation report and said, "Look, we'd better take those rockets seriously." The British discovered the Nazis' secret V-2 research center at Piedmont, on an island close to the Baltic coast, and bombed it in August 1943. After the air raid, the Nazis moved their testing, training, and launch site for the V-2 rocket away from Germany. They chose a location further east in Poland, about 150 miles, 240 kilometers, south of Warsaw, protected by forest cover. Blizna was considered so strategically important that it was visited in the following months by both Hitler and his architect of the Holocaust, Heinrich Himmler. Yet there was a flaw in the V-2 test weapons that was to delay their deployment by almost a year. Most of them broke up in midair, just short of their target 200 miles, 320 kilometers, away, near the River Bug in East Poland. A special detachment of German troops was stationed there to recover the pieces of the fallen rockets for analysis by scientists. As the narrator of The Secret War William Woolard recounted in 1977, however, the main disadvantage of this new location was that the local civilian population was less than enthusiastic about German secret weapons falling on them from out of the sky. They'd been asked by the Polish resistance movement to try to collect the wreckage before the Germans got to it. In May 1944, a V-2 rocket crashed, relatively intact, into the marshy banks of the River Bug. Local villagers covered it with reeds and called in a Polish resistance leader, Lieutenant Tadeusz Jakubski. It was here that the rocket landed without exploding, he told the BBC from the site 33 years later. The Germans failed to find it, and after a few days they stopped looking altogether. We then pulled the rocket up to the bank, and the team of experts came from Warsaw to dismantle it. The parts were loaded into sacks, which were hidden under vegetables and transported on carts to Warsaw along little-used country roads, shadowed by armed partisans in the woods. Despite constant security checks in the Polish capital, the rocket fragments were successfully smuggled into the city, and the scientists tasked with analyzing electronic components included the physicist, Professor Janusz Groskowski. With fears that his laboratory at the university might be searched by the Gestapo, The resistance decided that a private apartment would be better suited for his work, the apartment of an unsuspecting German officer.